chirp.
Welcome to our Sony Pictures Animation panel. It's titled Creative Career Paths, How It Started, How It's Going. How it's going. And so we have some amazing panelists here today. Yay. So my name is Carlos. I'm the manager of recruitment here for Sony Pictures Animation. We have our panelists here. We'll have them briefly introduce themselves because we do have some questions that we're going to get into to just learn about their journeys and just how they came to be here. So I'll start with Patrick.
Hi, I'm Patrick O'Keefe, production designer of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Cool. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Grace Ramos, and I'm a production coordinator on Spider-Verse.
Hi, my name is Micaela Hammond, and I'm a creative exec.
Hi, my name is Jang Lee, and I'm on the GOAT, newly announced movie. I'm production designer on it. It's a sports action comedy, and it's coming out in 26.
So everybody here has had a very interesting journey to get to where they are today. And we actually solicited some questions online from all of you and all of you who have been following our socials. And so we wanted to highlight those questions and kind of go through their journey. So starting with @don't3232, kind of like kicking this thing off, like what was the journey like to become a panelist today?
Well, you asked us to be on the panel.
In the parking lot.
A lot of people said, yeah. And we were told we had to do it. So I guess let me ask a clarifying question. How did we become the talented people, quote unquote, that we are now?
Yeah. So like just how, what was the general journey like from start to where you are today?
Okay. Stretch out. This is going to take a while. I'm an old man now. No, I fell in love with drawing and painting at a young age. My brother was an artist. My grandmother was an artist, and I just remember we moved a lot when we were young. And I remember the reverence. We'd find her portfolios. You know, she passed when I was really young, but my mom would flip through them. I remember seeing how much she loved the art and how much that meant to her. And I think that made an impression on me early on that art was important. And I just thought that was amazing, and I wanted to create it. And that's it. I just started drawing and painting, and I think it was I was failing in math, and I couldn't get through a spelling quiz, even to this day. You know how bad my spelling is. And so art was like the only thing I had, and I knew I had to put all my eggs in that basket and just do it. And just that's all I ever wanted to do was do it and do it and do it. And so I just studied my ass off and drew and painted every single day, 18 hours a day, from the age of like 12 to yesterday. I'm taking today off. But it's a love for film and a love for drawing and painting that got me into this industry, and a sort of relentless desire to be a part of it, you know, just stopping at nothing. And I mean, I can go on for hours, but I feel like that's how I got into it. And I'm sure there'll be more on that journey to come.
More follow-up questions soon. But Grace, let's talk about you.
I have always loved filmmaking. I was actually in live action before this. I was a PA running around a bunch. But then I decided I didn't want to be running around on a set all day. So then I was super interested into going into animation. So my first step in doing that, I was working in video games. Still zero connections to the animation industry. The jump from live action to animation can be tough because those connections are just so different. So I actually came to LightBox 2 years ago.
Shout out to LightBox.
Yeah, woo woo.
Just like all of you.
Yeah, and I didn't know much about the animation industry, didn't have any connections. And that's when I went to the Sony booth and I met, she's still the recruiter here, Christina Harder. And we had a conversation. It was lovely. And then a month later, she messaged me on LinkedIn and just was like, hey, do you remember me? I have this position that they want to interview you for. Come and do it. And then did the interview, got the job, here today. And oh my gosh, it's been awesome. But yeah, it's a little bit of how I got here.
Thank you. Michaela?
Similarly, I've always been into filmmaking and just going to the movies. I remember in high school, I would go to movies like every weekend and made a point about it. And like I would go by myself and I did not care. I eventually decided to go to film school. My parents were very confused. But I went to film school and I was also like going to go into live action. That's all I really kind of knew about. My cousin worked on The Walking Dead. I went to work with her and I was like, oh yes, this world is where I'm supposed to be. And then I did an internship at Disney Junior and I realized, oh, actually animation's where I want to go. So after I graduated from college, I produced music videos for a little bit, and then my friend was like, Michaela, if you want to go into animation, you should just start applying to it. Like, I don't know what you're doing. So I applied online for the trainee position at Sony Animation, and I got a call from HR and like recruiting, and like did the interview, did another interview in person, and got the job. So people say like don't like always apply online, it's always through connections. That is not true, because now I'm here today as a creative exec from that first step. So yeah.
And Jang, I know you came from somewhere very different.
Oh yeah. So mine has been a bit of a long journey. I kind of pursue very typical Asian American kind of household that everyone asks you to go to either law school or medical school. So I was a pre-medicine major at UC Irvine, almost 4 years, and but my dream was always I wanted to be an artist, but my family was always against it. So I kind of stuck through a pre-med program. I applied to dental school, and I was doing some interviews with dental school and pretty much ready to go. And then I dip in my side. I really want to be an artist. So I kind of lied to my mother and say, I want to go to Purdue University, Indiana, study engineering. And she was shocked, but I applied there. I got in. I went to Purdue about a year or so. But when I got there, I took one engineering course and picked a bunch of art courses and applied to Art Center and Pratt, because that time, those two schools were like a top notch. So if I can get in, that's my destiny. If not, I'm just going to stick to engineering. So I got in Art Center. I was like really excited about it. And I called my mom and said, I'm coming back to Pasadena. And she thought I was admitted to Caltech, which is like one of the best university ever. So I told my mom is the art center, I'm going to be an artist, and she was very shocked. But that was my journey, and I went through a lot. This industry is not for someone looking for a stable job. It's always up and down. It's fact of life here, but as long as you really truly love what you do and trying to pursue step by step, I mean, nothing happens overnight. So that's what I did, and I eventually get to production design GOAT, which is an amazing movie, and it's really truly amazing movie. It's a great team. So that's how my journey was. And if anyone out there studying something else, and if they have a desire to become an artist, then pursue that career, because you only live once, and it is what you need to do.
And I think the thing with just everybody's journey is that like everybody has come from a different path, and so you can talk to so many people in animation, and they'll all tell you like there's no one path to getting to where it is you want to be, and you kind of have to just follow your gut and sort of follow your goals, and those doors will sort of naturally open up, whether it's applying or doing something that your parents are going to hate, but either way you'll get there. And so I kind of want to take it back even further, and I know a little bit of you guys kind of touched upon this a little bit, but like what was the thing that really kind of inspired you to get to what you want to do today? Like, was there like a moment in your childhood? Was there something that you like saw that you're like, this is what I want to do?
For me, yeah, there was a pretty definitive moment when I got my hands, I must have been pretty young, like 6 or 7, and I got my hands on an art book for the, I think it was Return of the Jedi, and I was like, oh shit. They do the artwork, then they make the movie. I never knew that like all that artwork that I was seeing, that I was saying I had such reverence for, and there was always art in the house. But it was all classical art, it was all fine art. My grandmother was a life drawing instructor, so it was all really traditional art. And then seeing, oh wait, they need artists. So I love that. And they need artists to come up with what the movies look like. The other thing I love. And I realized there was like an important connection there that I could marry those two things together. The idea of doing the drawing and the painting, like a fine artist, but who's paying people to do that? And then this thing I love, which is the storytelling and the filmmaking. And so that moment really was like this, oh shit, that's a job. I'm going to do that. And I kind of knew right away then that that's what I wanted to do. I had a really weird journey to get there, and I kind of didn't answer the question last time, but I then ended up becoming like a graffiti artist instead, because that's the art that really kind of drew me into it and gave me a sense of my own personality. But I kept kind of veering away from filmmaking because it seems so far away from where I was growing up. So now I'm going to go back and answer the last question a bit better, because you guys did such a better job than me. And so I went and studied illustration instead. I got into animation school, Sheridan, and I decided not to go. I went into the illustration program because I wanted to be a painter, and I never wanted to animate anything. I wanted to design things. So I went into illustration school and was doing, for some reason, editorial illustration, but still being like, I love movies. How do I make the connection? I guess I made it hard on myself. I kept kind of taking the path less traveled. I ended up dropping out of illustration school to chase a girl. I'm from Toronto. I chased her to Vancouver, and I went to a new school there where they didn't have an illustration program. And so they let me cobble together my own curriculum of fine art painting and storyboarding and film, like actual film design, like building sets. But it wasn't as hard of a school as Sheridan. I found I had like extra time on my hands. So I just went and got a job at an animation studio because I could draw. As a summer internship, and then I just kept the job and just sort of lied to everybody. They were like, you keep leaving in the middle of the day, where are you going? And I was like running to school and like doing a test and then like skipping the next class and going back to work. And then the animation industry collapsed in Vancouver, and right in 2008 when I was graduating. And I ended up getting a job. They needed a graffiti artist. They wanted graffiti art for the new Need for Speed video game. And they were looking for a concept artist. I was like, oh, that looks like the stuff from that book, the Return of the Jedi book. I could do that, and I can do the graffiti. So I got the job there, and I spent the next 8 years making video games, which it's just not my thing. Video games are dope, but it's just not my thing. I want to do films. And I spent 8 years working in sort of the wrong industry. Loving it, great opportunities, working with Lucasfilm and all these cool people, moving from Vancouver to Montreal to San Francisco. And I got my green card. It got me into the country. And all of a sudden I was like right next door to the film industry. I thought was so far away when I was a kid. And I eventually just like quit my job making video games and sort of like posted on the internet, like, thanks everybody for such a great time. And that's when I got a phone call from Sony Pictures Animation, and they were like, let's do this. Like, where are you going to work? I was like, Disney TV. They're like, no, you're not. Because I was like, TV will get me one step closer, you know, and then I'll be right next door to film. And I was like, well, I already took the job, and I'm driving down there, and they're like, well, on your way to Disney TV, why don't you stop by and say what's up? And I came to Sony Pictures Animation and said what's up, and I don't even think I got past the lobby. We just talked for an hour in the lobby. And it went off like gangbusters, and it felt like the right fit. So I quit the job at Disney TV because they never gave me a contract. And no, I helped them deliver the first episode of the Big Hero 6 TV show, and then I pieced out. And went to Sony, and after a little bit of juggling around because things were in flux, I just found the dream job working on Spider-Verse, which was, again, it was just like that video game gig. They were looking for an artist who could do like the city styles and all that stuff, but also somebody who really knew like their graffiti and stuff. And so it was that callback to who I was as a kid made me the perfect fit for this project. It took, 8 years to get back into animation, searching, getting no's from everybody that I wasn't the right artist for a Pixar or a DreamWorks or whatever. And then Sony and this perfect project came along, and I fit right in. And so I guess if there's a message there, it was like, what I learned in the end was like, be true to yourself and who you are and what you do. And the project that is the right fit for you will come along. So I'm all over answering all types of different questions.
100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, does anybody else have some interesting stories from their childhood that have called to them to where they are today?
Yes.
Yes, Grace.
My
Let's do it.
older brother is actually a filmmaker as well, an aspiring filmmaker. He was making a short film about my dad in college, and I was still in high school. I had no idea what I was doing with my life, but I went on set, and of course, it's a bunch of college students making a film, but the excitement and buzz of creating such a personal story, I thought was so beautiful and something I didn't really know that's how movies or film or just a video was made. And I fell in love with that feeling, and I think I actually studied medicine for a little bit, pre-med. I wasn't anything crazy, but very low level pre-med. And I was enjoying it, but there's always that feeling in watching my brother make films and chasing that dream. I always wanted to also follow that buzz. And then I finally decided to. And that's when I went to live action sets. But then I think going into video games, I actually made cinematic trailers for Fortnite. And so it wasn't necessarily the video game pipeline, it was the trailers. I got that buzz again because animation's just so collaborative and intentional. Every single step is that passionate attention to detail, everyone wanting to add their own little details to the story and making it personal. Even a trailer for a video game, like talking to the artists, hanging out with them, watching them do their thing, their talents. It was always so inspiring, and that you could feel the buzz every day. Whereas live action, you still could, but animation's just different. I love it.
Animation is just so much better. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah, sorry.
Michaela or John?
This is a kind of a funny story. My grandma actually bought a full ride scholarship for me when I was a baby to go to med school in Virginia. So, and it could be at any med school in Virginia. It just had to be in Virginia. And I knew about this all my life, and it's when I was a baby, so it was like my destiny to go to med school. And I remember watching Grey's Anatomy, and I was like, you know what, this is fun, I can do this. But then I went to set with my cousin who was worked on Walking Dead, and she was a writer PA, and I remember she was like, okay, you're gonna just tell people you're 18, like I've been almost 6 feet tall since I was 11 years old. So it kind of played off. And then I remember waking up at 5 a.m. We got lunch orders, we got coffee orders, and it was just the most chaotic day. But I had so much fun doing that I went home and I was like, okay, Mom, Dad, I'm not going to Virginia. I'm going to film school. And my dad was so upset. And he was like, now you're going to owe all this money to a school. And I was like, no, I'm really smart. I'm going to go to film school. I'm going to pay it off. It's going to be great. But literally I was locked in for that destiny. And I was like, oh, this is what I have to do. And then I had to shift from that. So, and it was okay. It all worked out.
Amazing. So much medical.
Yeah, I have so much confidence getting injured at work now. and you're not the only three that I know at the studio that are like, oh, I was 3 years into med school and then decided drawing was the ticket.
Jang, if
I grew up in South Korea in 70s and 80s, early 80s. So in my neighborhood, there's one household had I don't know if you guys know, VHS cassette tape. You can put it in, you can watch a movie. So
Thank
my friend
God,
said, hey.
people are nodding. That would have scared the shit out of me if no one knew what a VHS was.
Yeah,
Sorry.
my friend told me we have a VHS tape, and I watched the first time ever the Pinocchio, a classic Disney. Yeah. So that did it for me. I mean, I was really blown away. Oh man, that's so cool. It looks like a children's book, but they're moving. So then I started investigating, doing some more research on Disney, and that was my dream is someday I can work for Disney. So that's how I got started. And when I first got a job at Disney, I was a matte painter for Tangled. That was really a dream come true because one of the art director, Dave Getz, he retired by now, but he gave me a chance to do so, and I was so excited. And I was only one matte painter for the whole show, entire movie, and which I didn't know about. The first day I walked in and say, look for like a matte painting department, and they say, you're it. And so, but I have such a respect for him, and I put it through, and I worked so hard for it. I don't regret it at all, but that's how it started. So that was always in my heart for working for Disney and feature animation someday, and that kind of kept that dream until I, went to pre-med, and eventually it's kind of all worked out.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I love how there's so much like just personal connections to you all, and like things that you can now see in your everyday day-to-days that are like you see that like childhood kind of dream come true. And so we do have some more questions, and we're getting close to the halfway here, and we want to open it up to some Q&A at the end. So we'll round robin a little bit. But for some of those folks, Jang and Patrick, who had very interesting careers before this, I know, Patrick, you talked about graffiti, and Jang, you talked about medical. Like how did you really kind of market yourself to make that switch? Because was it difficult? Did people like not, was there feedback that you guys got on your portfolios, or, how did you make that break to finally break in?
Yeah, because I had this now several year career making video games and like Need for Speed and Dead Space, and like scary, bloody stuff that was very different from the work I actually wanted to be doing. But that was my portfolio, that's my job. I'm doing it every day. Those are the pieces I've invested the most amount of time in. And I would roll into Pixar and be like, look, it's Dead Space. I can draw and paint. And they're like, sure, but we're not killing people on screen every 3 minutes. You're not Pixar material. What I realized was I needed to revamp my portfolio, and I had to do a lot of work. And I had this realization. I was like, okay, I have that part of my career, and it's teaching me how to draw and paint and give me money, and it got me into America, and that's fantastic. I got to show the world the work I want to do. And I spent a lot of time then. I would come home at night, and it was like a second job. I would start doing the design work I wanted to do for the projects I wanted, and I just sort of started inventing my own projects to do so. That eventually got me a job with a great studio called Hornet Animation. It's a commercial studio. For anybody here trying to get a start in the industry, hit up commercial studios, not big studios, but commercial studios are great, because I would moonlight designing animated commercials for like Amazon Prime and McDonald's Europe and stuff. And they were really stylized, and we got to make them quick. It's like you come make a Spider-Verse, as you all are with bated breath waiting to ask when is it coming out. It takes a long time. Commercials, you can do them in like 2 months. And so I got to make things quickly. They would come out quickly. I could show the work. I was learning how to make things. And so I had to rebrand myself. And then that's the stuff I started to drop on the internet and on my Instagram and my Twitter. And that's how I started. I got this whole other following of people liking my work for this, animation style, whatever that means. But it was really just the type of work I wanted to do. And that's why when I got the call from Sony Animation, it was actually over Twitter, because that's what we were using at the time. And they were like, we love your work. And they had nothing to do with the job I already had doing video games. So it worked. Rebranding myself for the job I wanted to have and the type of work I wanted to do led a studio to come to me instead of me having to apply to the studio. And that is what I think led to all my success thus far in my career. Was then I was on a project that was right for me. And then like I worked in games for 8 years, and never, anytime they were like, want to be an art director, I was like, I just don't really care about what we're doing here. And it's just me. Like the people who did art direct Dead Space and Battlefield and all that stuff we ended up making, they really loved it. And so you could see their careers accelerate. And I was like, I'm stuck. And it's because it just wasn't the thing I wanted to do. So by branding yourself as the things you want to do, you'll find the right project, and that'll lead to the best growth possible. Because then you're going to be like, I have an idea for this. I have an idea. Wait, and you're up all night doing things because you love what you're doing and not doing something that you're doing just for a paycheck, which you'll have to do till you find that thing.
John?
My first job was for Hasbro, a toy company. My first assignment was My Little Pony. So
Nice.
I still, whenever I see the My Little Pony, I really always have nostalgia about it. So that's how I started. So I didn't really trying to get a job at animation studio right after school. So my goal was to just get any art jobs. So I just applied a bunch of places, and Hasbro called me up. So I was lucky enough to work for him, and they were very kind. They're really good people, and they even flew me over to their Pawtucket, Rhode Island. That's where the company is. I went there for about 6 months, helping out My Little Pony, Shuby, Romper Room, bunch of classic toy stuff, and then that's how I got started. And I looked for other jobs, and I applied for Warner Brothers. I got a job there, and it's small projects at a time, and then eventually I worked for Rhythm and Hues, which is like a special effects company, and then I worked for Sony Pictures Imageworks, doing a lot of matte painting and the texture. And then I was lucky enough to get hired by Disney feature for matte painting work. So it's kind of gradually happened for me. It wasn't really, nothing really happened at once. So that's how I started.
Cool. Awesome. And so now I guess I kind of want to open up to all of you. If you have a moment in your kind of animation history experience where you kind of like were like, okay, that's it. I did it. I know. I feel like we've kind of touched a little bit upon some of you all, but is there any additional stories where you're like, hey, there's that moment where I did it?
The moment I realized they can't kick me out, because I was like, I snuck in. Yeah, nobody knows I'm here. And I'm going to keep making stuff. It came pretty late in my career, or recently, I should say, in my career, which was when you're done making a movie and it's all done, you got to go watch it over and over again to make sure it looks right in all the different IMAX and Xenon laser and God knows what Dolby. And I got called in. They were like, we're running out of people to look at. The production designer is supposed to sign off on all these prints, but we had to look at 2 of them at once. And this is the first Spider-Verse film, Into the Spider-Verse. And I was one of the art directors, and the other one was gone. He ran away as fast as he could once he finished DI. So they called me up and said, hey, you got to come and sign off on the IMAX print. It's got to go out today. So we've already finished the film. And I was very I don't know where my career goes after this film. I was very nervous as to how the film was going to be received. And I got to watch the whole film in an IMAX theater by myself. It's me and the guy who hits play and hits stop at the end. He's like, is it done? Does it look right? And so I'm there all by myself watching it. And the credits roll, and I saw my name on screen with the other art director, and I was like, they can't kick me out now. That shit was hot. And I'm not going anywhere. And there was this... And I didn't know how the film was going to land. Thankfully, it came out the next day because that's how late we were delivering the film, the prints. But I was like, no matter what happens, I think that was very good. And I think and I feel confident that again, I've made it, which means I'm here to stay. Not that I just got my foot in the door.
That's amazing. Does anybody else have other stories?
My personality is always kind of insecure, nervous about everything, and I think just the nature of artists. You finish painting for 10 minutes, you're excited about it. Oh man, this looks really cool. Then a few hours later, oh man, this is not gonna fly. So kind of same way. So even though I was lucky enough to get a production designer role in this movie, I'm always kind of questioning and whether it's good or not. So yeah, I still feel like I haven't really made it per se, because I've been doing this for almost 30 years. But one thing really stuck to me in these days, the first job, Hasbro, that kind of gave me a really energy and desire in my heart to kind of continue. So I think to me that's really important. You will never ever consider yourself as the great artist, because there's always someone better out there. So I think for me, it's the fact that I'm here and working on this industry, to me that's really cool. Feel good about it, and so I hope everybody can kind of continue to pursue what you're doing. Yeah.
Just so you know, Zhang, you've made it in my heart.
Thank you.
You're here.
Okay, so we got a couple more questions, but I think this is for everybody. But I mean, you all do all very creative things in your own respective ways. But like, what is inspiring you? Like, what are the things you guys are watching, or what are the things you guys have taken from? I know Jedi, so Star Wars. You know, all of that. What fuels your creative energy? What's the thing that keeps you continuing to want to make Spider-Verse 3 and go and create amazing things?
The goat.
Yeah, let's start with that.
The one thing really exciting about this project is Stephen Curry is the producer on the show. So I really like sports, even though I'm not good at playing any type of sports. But I love their players, their love letter to their athleticism and their desire to succeed, and trying to stand in front of millions crowd and their 3-point shoot or penalty kick, whatever, they have some confidence to do it. So I always admire that athletes' this desire and their love for the game, and that's something we're trying to bring into this movie. We're not gonna do anything like Space Jam type of cartoon slapstick motion. We try to make a sports film and trying to create something really respectful for athletes too. So. And also, we're trying to bring NBA ecosystem into our picture. So it's going to be a more complete sports movie. So that makes me really exciting about it. And every day I go to work. And also, I intentionally hire artists from every corner of the world. So we got like 7 or 8 different countries represented in our department. And that's really excited me, just because everybody has different perspective and different style. And right now, I cannot really tell you what look we're going for, because it's still secret, but I think we have something really cool and special, and I'm really excited to share it when it comes to February 2026.
I get to work on multiple different projects, so at various different stages of the process. So some are in development, some of them are in production. So I guess what inspires me creatively is just the people I get to work with, which sounds really cheesy, but it's true. But also, like, when I watch a new TV show or if there's a new movie that just is doing something that's never been done before, that is just really exciting, because like, how do we get to work with that particular person? How do we can bring that particular flavor over to the projects that we have right now? And what Sony Animation is doing is really pushing the boundaries of what we could do with the medium of animation, and how it's not a genre, it's not just for kids, it's for everyone. So how do we continue to tell those amazing stories with those very cool, interesting live action game and also other animation voices and bring them over to the studio? So yeah.
Yeah, what inspires me the most is also the people I get to work with. I know that's cheesy, but so true. I think the broader answer for me is people in general, my friends, my family, especially my siblings. They inspire me every day, and I think just hearing their stories, watching their stories, just storytelling in general and personal, especially underrepresented stories, inspire me every day. And movies like Spider-Verse, oh my gosh, I think just being with the artists that make a movie like that and hearing their stories, and maybe it's not the exact same story, but it's still the essence of that film, really brings out vulnerability in people and their need and want to tell those stories that are super important, and honestly just bring so much comfort to people at home. So yeah, just people that you work with, people.
At the end of the day, it really is the people. Like, you guys can't do this by yourselves. So yeah.
For me, I find inspiration comes from just a curiosity and a fascination in like everyday life. And the older we get, we don't set time aside to allow ourselves to be curious and fascinated about things. And I've tried really hard throughout my life to maintain that time and allow myself to get distracted and allow myself to chase things down, and sometimes it's just like walking down the street and you see something cool. Like, I'll stop to look at it and understand it, and usually I'll draw or paint it because I'm fascinated with what is happening in front of me. And so to enable that constant stream of inspiration, it's just a diversity of experiences in my life. Just trying to always be doing different things and experiencing different things and making sure I don't get too comfortable with the mundane reality of going to work every single day. And so we're always having creative conversations with the crew, but with my wife. And now I got a little baby now. She's 8 months old and she's fascinated by everything. And that inspires and has renewed my fascination with the way the light is hitting the kitchen counter, because she won't stop staring at it and I want to know what's fascinating. So allowing space for you to be curious and be that 8-month-old wherever you go and just be blown away about how crazy and diverse and different and surprising and unique and beautiful the world and life and people can be. That's the cheesiest of all the answers. But because you said it, what inspires me to continue to make Spider-Verse films is it's actually not Spider-Man. I could take or leave superheroes, but Miles and what he and Gwen, she and these people, what they represent in culture and this sort of demand that their stories, their unique stories have to tell them in a unique way. Those characters, that's what keeps bringing me back, is that it's a Miles story. That's what matters to me most. He's the one doing the graffiti. He's the one having these interactions with parents and other people, and no spoilers. I remind myself, I see Garth back there staring intensely at me. But it's the characters and the people and their stories that matter to me the most. Just like everybody in here has a unique past and story. You are all deserving of a unique style for your Lifetime movie, and so is he. And Sony, not to toe the company line here, but like they do allow, it's my kind of crazy, they allow us to break and tell stories in the unique way they need to be. And so that's what's kept me at the studio, is this confidence that they're never going to hold back from telling each and every one of your stories in a brand new way.
That's amazing. So we got 2 more questions, and so we're going to try to get through these so that we can open it up to Q&As. But I think I'll round robin this to just Michaela and Grace, since you guys were one of the first, more recently into the industry. But as you were out there, trying to moving and grooving, making your way into getting into animation, like what were some of the ways that you did it? Like what were your networking tips and tricks?
Well, the first one that comes to mind for me is someone told me pretty early on is like, when you're meeting new people and you're talking to like all these various or people who are in the roles that you want to be in as well, it's not about asking for a job. It's more of just like sharing your curiosity for that particular role or your love for the job. People will always remember like how enthusiastic you are about something because you guys share that value. So I always took that into every single coffee or general I went into especially when I was on the job hunt at the very beginning. And when I worked freelance in like live action, like that was an ongoing thing. And then the other thing is like, if you meet someone, ask them, is there anyone else that you think I should meet with? And then you don't have to go out and network with everyone. You just continue that chain of meeting new people. So yeah.
Grace?
Yeah, I would say somewhat in that same vein. I think take as many coffees, meet with as many people as you can, get as much in-person interaction with people that'll help you network throughout your career. But something I really learned early on was the people that seem like they're like-minded with you and have the same goals and really have like the specific passions you want. And I think that's first figuring out the big passions that you want as well. Chase that, and even if it doesn't seem like they won't lead exactly to where you want to be, maybe they're not working at a studio, they're not XYZ of exactly where you want to go, still stay connected with them because they're going to try going the same places as you. It really takes a tribe, a village to make a movie, so keeping those connections and just building a community, I think, is what I always try to do.
And the best community is the people that are right here. So the people that you're meeting today, the people that you're meeting right across next to you, like all of those people, you never know where they're going to end up, where you're going to end up. So continue making those connections. That is like the key, most important thing about this industry. Okay, so we're at the last question. This is kind of a cheesy one, again, with the cheesiness. But I know you guys have all been here for a while, but I guess, how does it feel like working at Sony Pictures Animation? You know, what do you like most about the studio? What are your takeaways?
What I love about Sony Pictures Animation is it never seems to do anything the same twice. Like every time it starts a film, it almost seems like they forget how to make a film, which is fantastic, despite the chaos it can cause. And it means they're open to change and they're open for invention. And it's a great place. And again, I'm not towing the company line here because I truly believe this. It's a great place to go work because it's an open book. You can define your own path there. I showed up as a viz dev artist and ended up as a production designer in like 3 years. That's not happening. No other studio is that crazy to trust that. But that's what Sony does is they're looking for people with passion and talent, and they promote that. You might not know how to make an entire film, but you have a vision that is very interesting, and they're going to surround you with the people who do know how to make a film or are like-minded, and you're going to discover how to do it together. And that's how you make things that are different. You can't take a system that is this super well-oiled machine that's turning out films and drop a new idea in. It's going to end up looking like the same and being the same as everything else. You have to reinvent filmmaking from day one. And Sony does that on pretty much every film they do. And it's madness, but it's my kind of madness. And it makes for incredibly diverse projects that are so different. And the sky's the limit there. Like, I don't feel like there's any limit on what we can make.
Very true. Grace?
Exactly what Patrick said. So think of that and then my answer. Sony's so interesting where it's such a big studio, but it still feels like a small boutique studio in the best way. Oh my gosh. I've met some of my best friends at Sony. It's just such a fun time. Before working on a show, I was an overhead, and the execs, I was so terrified to talk to them my first day. But then I talked to them, and they're the coolest people around. And then you go to the shows, and it's even more cool people. So, it's just such a fun community, and everyone just wants to have fun. Like, you can see it in how they work, how they carry themselves. They love a good community, so.
To that point, we say, because we work together, it's bespoke blockbuster filmmaking. Like,
I've had like 6 different jobs while I've been at Sony Animation. I've been there for 5 years, so don't do the math on that. But I've had so many different opportunities of doing so many different jobs, working in so many different departments, and just continuing to learn. And Sony has been able to give me like every single path that I've like asked about or like am curious about. I've been in development, I've been in production. So the fact that everyone has been so open and been very just encouraging about where I want to go and what I want to do has been so fulfilling, and it's been great.
I think it's coming from a parent company, like a mandate to, being innovative and trying to coming up with something new. I mean, Sony as a company, I believe they started as a first product was a rice cooker. That's what first thing they did after World War II. Yeah. Out of the ruin, they just built out this amazing company. So I think we're kind of following the same footsteps here. When I first joined the Sony Pictures Animation, my love is in animation, but a lot of my world building technique is coming from live action. So I pitched this idea, production design documents to Christine and Michelle and director Tyree about trying to be going towards more live action and trying to use the hard lighting schemes and all that stuff. And I was fully expecting they're not gonna buy it. They're probably gonna go with the animation stuff. But that's, oh yeah, sounds great, let's go for it. So I think that kind of tells a lot about the company. They're not afraid of trying new ideas and crossing the different mediums. And so that's what I love about working for Sony. And I don't think I would have the same opportunity if I go to other companies, because they already have a kind of set house style, and their way of doing things are kind of already set, almost like a moving elephant kind of situation. They're hard to move. Once they're moving, it's hard to stop. But Sony, you can always change directions, and as long as you're moving forward, making something great, and they will support you. So that's what I love about the company.
Yeah. Well, thank you all. And actually now we're going to open it up to some Q&A to you all, because I know you all have burning questions as well. So I think we have some mics around.
Yeah, let's get some love to this side. I feel like we're all looking this way.
Yeah. I guess if we don't have mics, then if you just want to... Oh, yeah, we do. Yay. There we go. So we'll go probably like one. Yeah. So we'll start over here. If you want to say your name and then maybe what it is you want to do in the industry, and then ask your question.
Oh yeah. I have always been a very headstrong person. I'm going to be completely honest. But like, no, it was really hard, like talking to my family about why I wanted to do this. And I think kind of like why I wanted to do this career and why I needed to do this career, and kind of just talking to them continuously. Like my grandma still gives me money. She gives me like $5. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with $5. I live in LA. Like every time she sees me, but it's continuing to show, but also them why I love it and how what I'm doing and that I'm happy. But also you cannot wait for their approval at the same time. I think that's the key thing. Like, I think when I was like for example, when you're an assistant and like you're doing these crazy like jobs and like crazy hours and stuff like that, everyone in my family was like, this is insane. You shouldn't be doing this job. And I just kept pushing. And that was like, that's all that really mattered at the end of the day, is what made you happy. So, yeah.
Push through.
Okay, over here.
I don't know if that's working.
Yep.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Losha. I'm a look development artist, a junior look development artist. And my question is not directed to anyone specific. It's whoever has an idea of how to answer this question. But what would your biggest piece of advice for a soon to graduate or recently graduated CG artist who's obsessed with like feature animation and stylized work and work like Sony's, what would your biggest piece of advice for them be for how to break into the feature industry, since it's kind of interesting in the industry right now?
All right, I can.
Any thoughts?
You got to let the world know what you want. There's this notion that like we already know that you want to come make feature animation, and we think that's what everybody wants to do. Some people actually wanted to stay in med school. And so you got to announce to the world and let Sony Pictures know you want a job there. Let these studios know that you want to work there, and then tailor your portfolio and the body of work to the type of work you want to do there. Now, they got to line up, right? If you want to work at Sony Pictures Animation, then you should be doing the type of work that Sony Pictures Animation is interested in, not just because they're handing out jobs. And then contact the studio. We have a booth, and there's email addresses.
1019.
There you go.
You know.
And it sounds crazy, but like we don't know that you want a job at Sony Pictures Animation yet. So how could it ever happen? You got to put it out there, and I don't mean like I'm putting it out in the universe. No, you're gonna call Sony Pictures Animation and say, "Yo, look at my stuff. I think I would be a great fit. Can we have a chat about why maybe I'm not a great fit yet, or how do I become a great fit? And keep me on your radar." It sounds crazy. It's as simple as that, as finding out how to be the right fit and letting the people know that you do want to work there. We don't know that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. We're gonna go back over here. I don't think it is. Yeah, project.
There we go.
So my name is Robin. I want to work in pre-production, especially story, but I love visual elements. I just want to start by saying, Patrick, the work of multimedia and mixed media is my favorite.
Oh, thank you.
And I wanted to ask, it seems like the field overall is really all about mixed media.
Great question. I hope our future is anything and everything that we're interested in, and not just doing, like, we're doing traditional stuff mixed with digital stuff. Great. Somebody else should go do whatever else they want. And I'm excited for an openness from audiences and openness from studio execs across the industry to just trying different things. Where that came from and sort of our camp, though, is the bringing together of like-minded people that all have an appreciation for those things. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, this is what the industry needs. It's that we have a love for those things. And I think it's the reason I didn't go into animation when I took that illustration class instead was because I didn't want to be limited to one medium. I just love everything. I love the feel of everything. I'm always encouraging my artists to bring all their materials, do everything, traditional, digital, however they want, whatever the approach is, and we're gonna figure out what we like once we see it. And so it's an appreciation for and a love for something that drives it, not an end result of an oil painting movie is gonna kill it at the box office this summer. So whatever you're fascinated in and you love to do, put that out there. Again, I don't know what you love to do.
I also studied illustration. I have the same pathway as you.
Yeah, so put it out there. Now what I do think is the industry is more primed for there's more accepting of more differences now. And what the industry is actually hungry for from an economic point of view is those differences because they're seeing it work. So show me, the industry here, what it is that you do that's different and that you're interested in, and that will open up the industry for opportunities for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're gonna go over here.
Hello, my name is losing my voice a little bit. Sorry, I'm just gonna project
hear
on
ya.
Marine, and I'm just gonna.
I hear you and I hear you.
Yeah. So my question is, like, well, first of all, thank you for taking the time to do this. Because you didn't have to.
No, they forced us here.
But my question is, like, Spider-Verse for me was a little different. I enjoyed it, but the thing I saw in it kind of made me want more. And because of my background and being a Marine and all the men in my family forcing me to kind of do all this business stuff, and then the Marine Corps, God, it killed me. But I'm like, how do I get this? How do I get more of this out? Like, when I saw that movie, I couldn't help but think, where are these characters? Like, why are we just seeing this in this movie? Like, it's exciting, yes, but you guys should see it from a different perspective. You guys have a different view. I'm just curious as to what's happening, as to why it's preventing. I've met a lot of people here, and there's a lot of talented people. I think of us all as equals. Yeah. And I've heard some interesting ideas from people. I've heard people say things that I've never heard before in my life, like different perspectives, different things people have seen. None of these ideas are less than the other. And I'm curious about, what do we need to do to get more of these ideas out into the public? Do we need Sonys and big companies like this to get these ideas into the greater public? Like you just said, there's a greater need to see more of these types of characters in the public eye. There's more diversity than there is what was, and we all know what was. And I'm interested in things like, why isn't there brushes for black hair? 4C,
we had to make
4B, there's things like this that don't exist. And I'm curious about, from your perspective, what are you seeing that is preventing that or stopping things like that from taking place?
I'll start on this one, but please, anyone jump in. I think what's preventing it is not an agenda to suppress it in any way, but there's not a model for financial success that exists. I'm not saying it can't, but there isn't. And Spider-Verse has certainly helped create a model that people are following. I think there's a bit of misguide that people are like, cool, now do Spider-Verse, which is no. You want to keep doing different. That's what we did. We did different. We want to keep doing different, not keep doing the same different. So I think we need to trailblaze and show, and we need allies at the studio executive level that see that, oh yeah, different is good, and if we show these unique stories, there's a market for it. What blows my mind is it's not, all that aside, everything I just said, I believe, it's not different. It's not crazy and unique. The amount of black kids in Brooklyn, like Miles, there's millions of them, right? That is not it's the princess in the castle I've never met. That story doesn't exist. But these unique stories here are walking around like we didn't have to invent actually that much new ideology. We just turned the camera to the real world and started asking ourselves, who are we and who are the people that we want to represent the stories that we're fascinated in. I'm not interested in ice castles. And I'm from Canada, where I actually have seen them. But no, so we need everybody here to be loud and share your story, and then we need the allies. And the craziest thing about Spider-Verse is they let us take $1 billion franchise that we easily could have hit render, and it looked like everything else, and they said, no. This is a different story. This is your story, and you're unique, and we need to tell your unique story in a unique way because it's not the same as everybody else's. And that's the craziest miracle of Sony. Now that and Spider-Verse, now that I've done it for like 8 years, that's the thing that I'm like, man, Sony's nuts for letting us do this one. and yet it was just a story about a black kid from Brooklyn. Like, again, those people exist, you know? We should be telling those stories because they're our stories.
And just to follow up on that, we are like the tools that you speak to, they're in progress. Animation, it is a slower process than the others, but the stories that what Spider-Verse kind of gave us is an opportunity to tell those stories and to like continue to tell all the various different stories. And they're currently in development. They're currently being in production. And I'll speak for Sony Animation. Like, we are telling such different stories that we haven't seen before. And we're really, really excited about that and really excited to share with you guys. But also to that, if there are stories out there that you guys are excited about that speak to that, be very loud on social media, be very loud to your friends. If you see something, it's like, why is no one watching it? You should tell everyone about it. And like, cause that's where we get to make more stories like that. So yeah.
And
just to add quickly to that, I think a lot of people tend to kind of use the medium to say something, which is important, but you got to remember it has to be a good story. So what I really love about Pixar in the early days is they already has very strong story structure of what if toys are alive, what if mouse is a chef, which is very simple and direct manner, but which is great story structure that everybody can kind of fascinated by and really watch it over and over again. But I think we have to be very careful when we get into what is, like a definition of, I don't want to say anything negative about turning red, but what is puberty? What is teenager lifestyle? Once you start defining something or lecturing people, that's when we get into a little bit of trouble. So as long as there's a good story there, whether it's different cultural background and race, whatever that is, as long as there's a good story, we should tell. But I'm a little bit against trying to kind of lecture or trying to bring some political view into the movie, because that's when we start losing the beauty of the medium. So the storytelling is all about telling a great story that everybody can understand what it is and really enjoy as a group. So I'm all about kind of inclusive and bring more ideas into it, but at the same time, I'm a little hesitant to kind of, you have to bring every story into the medium, because that's not how it works. So as long as you have a good story to tell, then we should be able to tell it.
And I just wanted to, because I wanted to say something about, because you asked black hair, right? It's a good example of like, why wasn't there a lot of good black hair in the animation tool pipeline? There weren't enough black people working in the animation tool pipeline. And I don't know, I can't be an authority on what black hair does. If we're talking about Irish hair that's graying too early, holler at your boy. But, and so we look like we know we need those people that are the authority on that. And you know, because we had this meeting a little while ago, we have a great diverse crew, and one of our black artists who's got great hair, by the way, whatever he's doing, he's killing it, gave us like an hour lecture, not lecture because that sounds like punitive, but like discussion about like, here's the things you don't know about being a black man who's 15, who's getting his hair done by a family member, and what that whole, and this only never show up in any of the movies, but he told us made a whole comic book basically about what that experience is, just so at least down the line I can have an appreciation for a bit of an understanding and a look into that window. But it comes from this person telling me what their life experiences are. So we need the you're a Marine. We need you to get up in here and tell us what we don't know, because we don't want to fake it and act like we do. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you for that. And Illustrator, 2D, 3D. I'm horrible at introductions. My wife was here; she would kill me.
So that's actually our time. Yeah, unfortunately, we are all set. But thank you all for joining us.